Neon Genesis Evangelion. It certainly hasn't spawned endless debate over the past 23 years. And we're definitely not 3 movies deep into a 4-movie remake or sequel. That final one is coming out in 2020. Maybe. It hasn't been memed to death. And certainly our channel name, GetintheRobot, has nothing to do with Evangelion. Nope. And I'm not Cristal Marie here to bring you an argument in defense of Neon Genesis Evangelion the manga. Not the spin-offs, the actual manga. We're assuming you already know about Eva if you're here. Hideaki Anno's masterpiece has never faded from our minds. It's only second in popularity to the likes of Dragon Ball and Miyazaki movies. If you're a hardcore anime fan, you've either watched it or all your friends are yelling at you to watch it. But you might not have read the manga. You might not have even known there was a manga. On our show, Anime vs. Manga, I usually look at the manga that your favorite shows were adapted from. But for Evangelion, the manga adapts the anime. Anime to manga adaptations are not usually great, but this one's definitely worth reading. Drawn by Yoshiyuki Sadamoto, the character designer of Eva, Wolf Children, Summer Wars, and more, the manga is absolutely gorgeous. And it was long-running too. It started in December of 1994, before the TV show actually aired, and didn't conclude until 2013 after the most recent movie. The manga offers a unique and concise take on Neon Genesis Evangelion. Eva the anime really takes advantage of its medium. It's known for its nearly incomprehensible apocalyptic plot and characters who've stood the test of time, just like my trauma having watched it. Having a small budget, Anno squeezed blood from a stone on the last few episodes. He got around the need for, regular animation by lingering on powerful still frames. The still frame of Eva Unit 1 holding Kaoru in episode 24 as Beethoven plays sticks out. Or the still in episode 22 where Rei and Asuka are standing silently in an elevator for a little under a minute, really making you sit in that tension. The controversial last 2 episodes have very little full animation, relying instead on rough sketches, abstract representations, and some very competent editing for effect. The manga doesn't have the benefit of sound or motion, just static images and words. Though often, Sadamoto's illustration looks better than the original work, especially when it comes to character art. To compensate, he eventually spells out the complicated plot. Like the Rebuild movies, the manga assumes you've seen the show. It glosses over certain events and skips entire episodes like A Human Work, and spends more time with important character moments. The manga didn't conclude until 2013, with sometimes months, if not years between chapters, and it began to do things a little bit differently. For example, how Asuka was introduced. But that's what makes it a very worthwhile companion piece to the original. We're going to look specifically at the main manga series by Sadamoto. In conjunction with the show, it presents a more complete Evangelion experience. Let's talk about why. Imagine getting a letter from a strange woman you've never met, summoning you to the heart of Tokyo. Actually, that probably sounds really nice if you're single. Did she cover the trip? But then, as you arrive, a gigantic monster attacks. Our favorite protagonist, Shinji Ikari, finds himself in this very predicament at the beginning of the series. He's a sad boy whose desire for a relationship with his father and search for meaning propels him to get in the robot. This iconic setup is how the show starts, but with the manga, we actually get a small inner monologue from Shinji beforehand. It's vague, foreboding, and doesn't give us any new information, but it allows us to get to know Shinji quicker. Shinji openly voicing his feelings is the biggest difference between anime and manga, character-wise. He has the same desires and troubles, but manga Shinji has more of a backbone. He's even more willing to clap back at everyone else. In episode 3, after the dust settles from the first big angel attack, Shinji gets decked by Toji because his sister got injured in the fight. In the anime, Shinji basically says, "It wasn't my fault. I was forced to pilot the Eva," which makes Toji throw another punch. In Volume 2, Chapter 7 of the manga, it's the same scenario and setup, but after the first punch, Shinji asks, "What do you want me to do? Beg for forgiveness?" Followed by a question to the effect of, "Do you get tired of being angry?" Baby boy Ikari has that hint of snark in the anime. Like when he gets on Misato's case for her dirty apartment, but the manga dials it up. We'd be here all day if we listed every example of slightly more confident manga Shinji doing his thing, but in short, where the anime shows us how Shinji's feeling, the manga tells us what he's feeling. Instead of yelling at Shinji to get in the robot, it's clear why he doesn't want to. The other characters get less of a makeover, but they wear their feelings on their sleeves in the manga. Look at Rei, for example. The fan-favorite character in Japan, her quiet nature and initial lack of autonomy leaves her a little more misunderstood by some of Eva's Western audience. Some say she's emotionless, but if it isn't obvious, I love Eva, so let me make a case for why she's not. And let it be known, I'm Team Asuka through and through, but I like Rei, and never had a problem with her and really understood her. Remember when Shinji rushes to Rei's aid at the end of episode 6? They defeat the angel, but Rei's taken damage. Like Gendo before him, Shinji races to get Rei out of the plug. She's relatively unharmed but says, "I don't know what to feel at times like this." Shinji tells her to smile. I'd argue that Rei feels plenty of emotions but doesn't understand them. I never understood this as her being a robot. I saw this as this small child already traumatized from all the time she's been fighting. We, the audience, were traumatized by the time EVA Unit 1 goes berserk for the first time. She's been there from the beginning, The scene plays out the same in the manga, but here's one that's different. The iconic Shinji breaks into Rei's apartment and then trips over her while she's naked scene in episode 5. In the anime, Rei simply asks him to move, but in the manga, she actually tells Shinji to get out. It's not a complete game changer, but like Shinji, Rei's got more bite in the manga. This Rei's more tangible compared to her anime counterpart. Her relationship with Shinji is a bigger focal point in the manga too. For example, she actually invites Shinji into her apartment in chapter 29. He tells Rei he wished he'd have come to the previous night's celebration. Rei suggests Shinji tries talking to his father about their relationship. This type of thing is nowhere to be seen as early in the show, and it gives the manga a more personal feel. The manga covers the first 6 episodes in its first 20 chapters pretty closely. Episode 7, A Human Work, is the first that's entirely skipped. While it's the closest thing Eva has to filler, there's some killer standalone Misato moments. Still, Sadamoto consciously chooses to focus more directly on the main story and character bits. Whether this was just to save time or to actively present something more concise, it works. Conversely, while episode 10 is cut out for similar reasons, the events of episode 9 are drawn out over many chapters. The one where Shinji and Asuka have to synchronize every minute of their lives. Which, by the way, I think that's one of the few times I felt the anime was being optimistic. You imagine if couples had to do that to prove they were compatible? We'd all end up alone. The extended intro to the Shinji-Asuka dynamic lets us know, hey, this is pretty important. You're gonna be buying figures of Asuka for years. I know I did. In chapter 21, Asuka tells Shinji that what the history books say about Third Impact are false. In chapter 23, Gendo personally scolds Shinji, Asuka, and Rei for failing the mission. In chapter 24, after witnessing Gendo's being a jerk to Shinji twice, Asuka asks what he thinks about his dad while opening up about not having one. She even runs away in chapter 25 before returning in chapter 26. These differences contribute to a better teen dynamic between Asuka and Shinji. From here, things happen differently. Some angels are skipped over and key events happen out of sequence with the anime. For instance, the blackout in episode 11 happens in chapter 30 after Shinji and Gendo visit Yui's grave in the manga, which originally happened in episode 15. Sadamoto cuts out the majority of episodes 13 through 16, including all the big fights. The cut might have been motivated by the fact that the manga had been going on for years, but the end still wasn't in sight. Overall though, it makes the manga more of a gut punch, while the show's more of a slow burn. We get back on track with episodes 17 and 18, where Toji is named the 4th child. Unfortunately, his Eva gets taken over by an angel his first time piloting. Here, the manga begins to depart significantly. In the anime, you may remember he was only injured, but in the manga, he dies. The Final Messenger, episode 24. Asuka's lost her mind. Rei too, our Rei, dies. There's one angel left. Shinji's alone at the crater lake because he can't handle seeing Misato or whoever this new Rei Ayanami is. Enter Kaoru Nagisa. For many, episode 24 is peak Evangelion. I need to pause because I can't even. Kaoru, who only exists as long as the episode's 24-minute runtime, has a strong following as Rei and Asuka. Many of Eva's most memorable moments occur in this episode, like the cut just before Shinji pops Kaoru's head off. In the span of one episode, Kaoru and Shinji shower together, literally sleep together, and open up to each other. From the get-go, Kaoru professes his love for Shinji, and in return, Shinji opens up to Kaoru. Despite Kaoru Nagisa being the final angel, his death is the most tragic. And to me, we could have ended the whole damn thing there. If Kaoru's the only one Shinji opens up to, how do you handle him in a world where Shinji's open with people? Completely differently. Manga Kaoru is formally introduced in volume 9, chapter 57, correlating with episode 22, Asuka and Rei still being around. Shinji stumbles on Kaoru playing piano in the ruins. In response, Kaoru strangles a newborn kitten in front of Shinji, straight up. If the kitten was abandoned and we can't take care of it, it's better for it to die now than to die of starvation, he says. No. It's messed up, and it sets the tone for Kaoru in the manga. The bigger plot points of 22 through 24 are almost the same. After Rei's death, Shinji begrudgingly starts to hang out with Kaoru more. They're not openly loving, but in chapter 68, we see Kaoru getting jealous when Shinji stops staying over when he finds out Rei's alive. Ultimately, manga Kaoru's climax is the same. He asks Shinji to kill him in chapter 73, comparing his life to the cat he previously killed. Death now being better than death at the hands of Seile. More than that, he says death at Shinji's hands is proof Shinji cared about him. From Kaoru, we leap into End of Evangelion. Meant as both a replacement and companion piece to the last 2 episodes of the show, End of Eva is one of the most beloved, wild anime films of all time. It's unforgettable. Misato kissing Shinji and telling him, "That's an adult kiss. We'll do the rest when you come back." Before keeling over, Asuka almost defeating, but then getting eaten by a bunch of extra creepy Evas. Not to mention that whole moment when the movie literally breaks and it all keeps tumbling down, tumbling down, tumbling down sequence I'm not even gonna try to describe. Unlike the TV show, End of Eva actually had plenty of great animation. How does the manga compete? By clarifying things. Shinji doesn't relieve himself on Asuka. Gendo grows an eyeball in his hand, and in chapter 78 we see him deploying AT fields from it to shield Shinji and Misato from bullets. There's more flashbacks of Shinji's lonely childhood. Gendo expresses regret when talking to an apparition of Yui while dying. Through their final conversation, Yui and Gendo spell out the whole darn plot. Then we get to volume 14, chapter 94, the climax of End of Eva. Unit 1 is flying above the Earth. Shinji's in some kind of mental dream space. By the way, can I just pause here? Note that at this moment, even in this recap video, just describing the event sounds disjointed, traumatizing, and insane. I feel like Evangelion gets to this point where my brain just shuts down and becomes a screensaver. Destruction, death, gore, ooh, pretty clouds, blood, chaos, feathers, ah! Manga Shinji's more aware that he can restart the universe how he'd like. He spells everything out in an extended conversation with Rei. The scene feels weightier here because it's clear what's happening. Shinji's become godlike. Ultimately, he still chooses the not having everyone be orange goop ending. He then asks Rei to hold his hand, cementing their relationship as 2 separate beings affirming each other's existence. The movie ends with its final iconic shot. Rei's giant head floating in the blood-stained ocean, Shinji choking out a near-lifeless Asuka. It's one of the most poignant scenes in anime history. Instead of repeating this, Yoshiyuki Sadamoto throws the reader one final bone. A happy ending. Since Second Impact in 2002, Japan's been in perpetual summer. The manga ends with Tokyo covered in snow, bustling with people. We see Shinji, Asuka, Kensuke living normal lives, and interestingly enough, the remains of the Eva series that fell back to Earth. They're referred to as remnants of an ancient time, giving credence to the Evangelion repetition theory in which the events occur over and over. While the manga isn't TV canon, who's to say it's not part of the same repetition chain that leads Neon Genesis Evangelion into the rebuild movies? It's worth reading for that alone, but if you want to get to know your faves a bit better, take the plunge. I'm Cristal Marie, and this time, we really did get in the robot, your anime explainer.